Meditate, I'ma fly away, teleport into another world where I can clear my head, refill my energy, test the chill spot where I like to be, where mentally I'm free and spiritually my guides are always watching over me, so I will be just fine and I will be okay. I swear I love the space I'm in the energy I keep. No, don't you ever try. We gon' have to go a couple rounds. So I thought I'd let you know. Bag up, blow for blow. I want all the smoke and that's no cap. Let me meditate, I'ma fly away.
Welcome to another Spit Don't Swallow podcast. Tonight we have the honor of having Miss Lala on our panel tonight, along with Money Monster Chi and Miss Chocolate Codeine. Welcome, ladies. How are we doing?
Evening. Hey, I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to be here with all of these queens tonight. So, hey.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out to speak on a touchy subject, but a subject that needs to be spoken of. And everybody wants to know or have some type of question. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
So let me start off by asking, who is Lala?
Lala is just a girl that has been through some stuff and has, in this big age of her life, and please excuse me because I'm just getting over the flu, it's still lingering. But in this big stage, big age of my life, I'm just a girl that's loving life in her skin. I'm a person that's embracing the good, the bad, and mostly the ugly, because the ugly is what has made what you see manifesting in front of you today. I am a mom. I am an author. I am a certified John Maxwell transformational leadership coach. I'm a certified grief recovery specialist. I'm a certified youth mental health first aider. I'm a poetess. I'm just, a sister, a friend, a villain in some people's story, and most importantly, I'm a child of God.
Okay, that's a lot of hats.
All right, Jackie of the trade. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah.
How do you balance all of that?
Honestly, I just do. I guess with age comes kind of experience, and you just prioritize what's important. After making a lot of mistakes with my kids, it's always going to be motherhood. Motherhood's going to be number one. Not the perfect mom, never pretend to be, but if my kids need something, I'm going to be there. I'm always going to uplift them, whether they're right or wrong, but I'm going to tell you, hey, you're wrong. When it comes to my poetry, writing, speaking, serving is number one on my list, because you got to find out what your purpose is. And once you find out what your purpose is, serving becomes number one, because I serve people like I serve God. And so I think that's really important for me. And that's the number one thing. So once you get to a place in your life where you understand that your 9 to 5 cannot drive everything, your 9 to 5 supports what you do. And then what you do drives your passion. Everything else drives your passion. So once you find that balance, then that's how, because there's no true balance of everything. If there was a true balance of everything, I wouldn't be sick right now, because sometimes I overwork myself and then my body makes me pay for it. But I learn when to relax, when to lay down, when to see what's important in my life. And that's kind of how I balance. There's no true work-life balance. And if anybody tells you there's a true work-life balance, they're a liar, and the devil, the devil is in them, because there's not any true formula to a work-life balance. You just do what you can do, and then you keep it moving. And then whatever you don't finish, you can circle around and pick it up, but never drop your family. I've worked in a corporate environment where I missed first birthdays, first steps, and different things, working so I can make sure that they had things, and all they really needed was me. So once you start to understand those fundamentals, everything else will work out. But when it comes to, if somebody asks me to serve, yes, I'm going to serve, but I'm going to ask God about it before I do it, because you got to sow into fertile ground. You got to, everybody deserves a partnership. Everybody deserves somebody that they can count on. But if I can't give 100% of myself when going into that relationship, I won't do it, because it's a disservice to them. It's a disservice to God. It's a disservice to myself and my brand. So that's kind of how I quote unquote balance things. There's no really true balance. It's what's driving your passion, or what. Yeah, that's how I determine what's more relevant in that moment. Yes.
Okay. Before I ask this question, I wrote something specifically for this show.
Okay.
Grief is not an ending. It is a refusing silence. It bends us, it breaks us, yet plants roots in the cracks. You are not broken, you are becoming. Every tear is proof of love, every breath, every step towards life. From the weight of loss, we rise, not weaker, but wider, holding both sorrow and strength in the same hand. What made you choose grief?
So I didn't choose grief. Grief chose me.
Okay.
One of the things that I can tell you, the Grief Recovery Institute teaches us that we all are a nation of grievers, and we all grieve differently. And some of us are grieving and don't even know we are grieving.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's so many facets or pieces to grief that it's no wonder it's very confusing. But the thing that actually made me go into being a grief recovery specialist is I actually flew to Philadelphia, because one of me and my friends, Donna Williams, who is the founder of Parenting with a Purpose, she said, "Hey sis, let's go and do this grief class. They're doing a grief certification, and I think it will really be good for you," because I was doing something with my 501c3 that I had at the time, Heal the City Inc. And we were going city to city, state to state, and I'd have all my friends come together who were counselors, pastors, preachers, survivors of human trafficking, survivors of rape, domestic violence, all of these things. And we come on a platform, and we bring the local people in that city on the platform with us to talk about the things that have people stuck in the mud, and that we typically don't talk about in the Black and brown communities, all that stuff that goes on behind closed doors, that stays behind closed doors. So we were doing that, and I thought, you know what, why not take a grief class? I'm so good at what I do, and I think I got it all together, but this can enhance my skill set. But when I got to the Grief Recovery Institute, I learned that I didn't know anything about grief. Everything that we were taught, all the cliche religious things that we say to people when somebody dies, like they're in a much better place. No, what if their much better place was with me? Handing something as simple as handing somebody some tissue when they cry. We're not supposed to do that, because it signals them to stop crying, because it's uncomfortable for the person that's seeing them cry. So they don't get the chance to walk through that grief because we shut it down prematurely. So when I went to the Grief Recovery Institute and I learned all of these things, I learned the things that I shouldn't say, that I've been saying, the things that I shouldn't do, that I've been doing, saying that, learning that I don't have to talk somebody that's grieving, sometimes I can just sit there in silence and be quiet, because that's what they need, because they don't even understand the things that they're walking through, and they cannot put those things into words. So why would I expect them to have a full understanding of what they're walking through if it's a shock to their system? You know, there used to be 5 stages of grief, but with Elizabeth Kubler, there's now 7 stages of grief. And what we fail to understand is grief is not linear. That means you don't go through anger, then denial, then all the way to healing, and you're good. No, sometimes you smell something and it brings back a memory, depending on what the trauma was. So there's so many different types of grief. I don't even think that we got to the bottom of it. So no, I didn't choose grief. I thought that I was a pretty good listener, which I wasn't. I thought that I understood how to be compassionate and show empathy with people, and I didn't. I knew some of it because of the things that I've gone through as a person that was molested at a young age, and had been molested throughout her young adulthood life. Someone that had been bullied, someone that, you know, just had to deal with a lot of seeing domestic violence, and then walking through domestic violence myself. Anything that you could have gone through, I went through it. And so I thought all of those situations made me a better person for other people that were walking through things, but I had to learn some things. And that's what the Grief Recovery Institute told me. But just walking through that class and then understanding that, you know, when I was molested, and having conversations with my molester to make them feel bad, they were grieving things too. So it's not only seeing things about how I feel about the situation, how it made me feel, how does my interaction with other people make them feel? And when people are going through, just because, say, all of us know one person in common that died, right?
Mm-hmm.
Grief does not allow us to feel the same way about the same person that we all knew in common, because one of us could have loved that person, and we could be distraught. We could be, you know, the end of the world because this person is dead. The other person could have had a love-hate relationship with this person. Another person could have hated this person, and another person could have been like, well, you know, they really didn't do anything for me. I really didn't do anything for them. Sorry to see them go. But we could all deal with that grief event very differently based on our attachment or disattachment to that person. So that's what I learned about grief. And I'm so glad that grief chose me. And that sounds kind of crazy, but it is groomed, it has grown the woman that you see in front of you today. Because I tell you all, I'm not that smart, but I do have a God that is very smart and puts me in the right places. So that's why I think it's very important for us to talk about grief in the Black and Brown community, because we're so often told that a lot of things that we deal with are demons. Some of them are demons, yeah. Some of them are us that create these situations that we're in. And people can only treat us how we allow them to treat us. And when learning about grief, those are some of the things that I learned. And I'm so glad that grief chose me, because I wouldn't be open to some of my favorite quotes. Is one of them is by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Grief has a way of making us feel inferior, that we don't belong, or there's something wrong with us. And once you understand your traumas, your triggers, and how you operate, you can happily, easily, I'm not going to say easily, but you can navigate grief a little bit better. But that's why I'm so glad that grief chose me. This is not something that everybody wants to talk about, because, you know, sometimes the healing hurts more than the wound. So people don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. I always say sometimes you got to remove the band-aid to resurface the hurt, to
Mm-hmm.
actually heal within.
Absolutely. And think about what you just said. Sometimes you got to remove the Band-Aid. What happens if we say one of us fell out of a tree, right? We're a kid, we playing around, we fall out of a tree. Mom comes and puts a Band-Aid without cleaning it, without addressing the issue. What's going to happen? We're going to get an infection, right? So it's very important that when ripping off the Band-Aid or changing your dressing, that you address the issue behind. Maybe sometimes it's just cleaning it with some peroxide. Maybe sometimes it's putting an antibiotic ointment on it. But you can't just slap a Band-Aid on a dirty wound and expect it to heal. So I love the fact that you said that.
Yeah. Ladies, you have any questions?
Absolutely. So,
Jump in.
hello.
Hey.
So I'm just listening to you, and I love everything that you're saying. One thing I do want to ask you is, what does grief look like for you?
Grief for me is different, and it depends on what I'm grieving, right? So about 2.5 years ago, I lost my mom unexpectedly. She went on a cruise. We went to pick her up and they told us she had died.
Mhm.
That looked very different for me because number one, I was like, what? You just went on a cruise and we go to pick you up and they tell us that there was a medical emergency and now you're dead.
Mhm.
Grief looks very different. Sometimes I told you I was molested, right?
Mhm.
I was molested by my dad. But I can have a conversation with all of you like I have with my dad and tell him that I love him because I do. I've worked through that. I worked through the smells. I worked through the conversations, the nightmares and the frightmares that I had playing in my head. Grief doesn't have a look, but it does have signals and signs. So grieving for someone may look like anger, may be stuck in a rage, may be crying all the time. Um, Grief is the event, right? And the emotions that are attached with the grief are a response to the grief. So, depending on what I'm grieving, maybe I didn't get a job and I felt passed over. And then I had to train the person that I got passed over for the job that I was qualified to get. I could grieve that situation. Grief for me could be grieving something, an experience that I never had. Are y'all all aware that you can grieve experiences that you never had? For
Mhm.
instance, say that you go to someone's house as a kid and you see that they have two loving parents in the home and they're doting on each other, they're teaching, they're sharing, they're having open communication. And as a kid, if I didn't have that, I can go home and grieve that experience. I can be in an experience where I'm in a foster care situation because the person that I trusted the most to take care of me was not taking care of me. I was getting abused. I wasn't getting fed. I wasn't getting taken to the doctor when I was sick, but that's all I know. So when they take me away from them, even if they were beating me up physically as a child, sexually abusing me, I can grieve that situation because it's all I know. I still love them, even though that they were hurting me. You can grieve a toxic relationship. You ever seen somebody be in a toxic relationship? They get out of it and go right back to it because they're grieving the safety of that unsafe experience. So, grieving to me is different based on the stimuli or what I'm grieving, the experience that has me grieving. So sometimes I'll be happy. Sometimes I can be stoic, or I can be a person that seems like nothing is phasing me and I can be going through turmoil and in the inside. It just depends on what that is. Grief is going to look different in every situation for me, depending on how much awareness I put on that situation and my traumas and triggers and responses to that situation. Or if I never dealt with it, and bless God, and I know this sounds crazy, I have dealt with some foolishness in my life, but it has shaped me to be the person that you see today. And I can stand strong and tall in a lot of stuff. And because of the experiences that I've gone through. So I hope that answers your question, but grief looks different depending on what grief event that I'm walking through. You're on mute, mama.
Yes, that answered my question. Sorry.
Okay.
Um, the next question I wanted to ask was, what was one of the biggest misconceptions that you learned about grief?
um, well, you know what I hear all the time is that you should just get over it. If you're not dealing with it, how you going to get over it? If you're stuck in a situation with your abuser, how you going to get over it? If you don't have the resources to heal, to know what I'm dealing with has a name associated to it, how am I going to deal with it? That's the biggest lesson that I learned when talking about grief is if people don't have the resources to get out of the situation, to deal with it, or to have an awareness of it, what their traumas, their triggers, and their responses are, they're not going to know how to deal with it. And unfortunately, in Black and brown communities, we have a lot of post-traumatic stress that we have dealt with for years and years and years, and the grief compounds, right? Typically, how many of us, if we want to be honest, have gone to seek counseling at the onset of a grief event? How many of us knew where to go to get the right counselor? And if you did go to a counselor and they were just reading the checklist, how do you know you're getting the appropriate care? So because and there's so many disparities when it comes to the treatment of Black and brown people in when it comes to medical care and counseling, right? Because we have dealt with slavery, we have dealt with bigotry, we have dealt with racism, we have dealt with so many things. Not saying that any other culture or anybody else has not dealt with it. I'm specifically talking about my community, the things that we have dealt with, that we were told to get over it because, oh, you're a strong woman, you can get over it. Well, there's people dealing with less than I'm going with, but they have counseling readily available for them, and they're able to go on and push through it and learn how to deal with it. And I don't have those same options for me, and I don't know about those options because they're hidden in plain sight for me. So I think that's really important for us to understand when we're talking about grief. We're talking about the facets of grief. We're talking about how we deal with grief, and that grief is compounding. So if I don't deal with, say that I got divorced, I had to move, I lost my job, I lost a parent, and then say my bills went up, I don't have the income, my car broke down. Those are all grief events in our lives. So if we don't deal with them and the degree of whatever it brings to our lives, they just gonna compound, and then eventually we're gonna do what we call break, right? We're not, people that are grieving are not broken people. They have situations that are broken, and they're living in those situations that are broken. Doesn't mean the person is broken. They are just dealing with some messed up stuff, right? And so once you have that on top of, it's easy to get buried, and then one day just click and everybody looking at you crazy. And everybody's always, well, if you need somebody to talk to, come and talk to me. But if you're not equipped to help me walk through what I'm going through, why would I talk to you? Because there's a trust factor, right? I don't want to go talk to you about my problems and then everybody in the neighborhood knows my problem. And now I have to have that compounded grief on top of the junk that I'm already going through. I got to listen to everybody tell their version of my story, which is maybe untrue. So now I'm feeling ashamed because of the things that I'm walking through, and I still have not dealt with those grief events. So I know that's a lot, but just think about it. Everybody has they think because they walked through a situation and they got over it, got through it, or put the mask on to show that they're okay, that everybody is going to react that way. Not everybody else reacts the same way to a grief event, even if it's similar in nature.
Absolutely.
Let me piggyback off that. Hold on right quick. I'm sorry. What advice would you give someone who's going through it, but it's not their situation? But how do you support?
Give them grace. Give them grace. Show them grace. Be a trusted advisor to that person. If you don't know how to help them find someone that can help them. I will tell you, as a grief recovery specialist, I am not a therapist. So there's some things legally that I cannot do that a therapist can do. I'm a grief recovery specialist. I help them understand what grief is and help them walk through grief. If somebody comes to me with a situation that is too big for me, that is uncharted for me, that I don't know everything about, I am not going to walk them through that grief event. I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to support them. I'm going to listen to them, but I'm going to recommend them to someone that is skilled to help them. Because the problem is, we want to help people so bad that sometimes we're not equipped We don't have the education and whatever they're walking through to help them without hindering them. And as a person that is helping somebody through a grief event, you got to know your limitations, because you don't want to bleed on somebody that is already going through trauma and make their situation worse. And if you don't know what to say, don't say anything. Just walk them hand in hand to the person that can, and be there as a support. Be there when they have those breaking moments. Be there for the long haul. Don't tell somebody that you're going to be there and then not be there, because they need you as trust. And you also need to learn not to trauma bond with people when they're going through things. That's really important. We don't trauma bond over here. We have conversations about the accountability in that situation. I'm not going to beat you up. I'm not going to make you feel worse about the situation. I'm going to show you grace. I'm going to show you love, but I'm also going to know my limitations and what I cannot do, should, and shouldn't do, and refer you to the people that can help you. That's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to be a resource in those moments. Be a resource for someone. Do your research. Do your due diligence. And if you don't know what to say, shut up. It's simple, because we got so many people saying some stuff like, yeah, they're in a better place, or, you know, they're not hurting you. We know the obvious. They know the obvious. They're still trying to figure out how it happened and why it happened. So sometimes we need to get them to the people that can help them, if that makes sense.
It does.
Oh, that's
Okay.
good. I have a poem that's like it's about that. It's about my sister. She was murdered, and
Mm,
when they murdered her, everybody. I was 17 at the time, and so everybody kept coming up to me like, oh, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. In this poem, I talk about how they don't know how death invites itself in and it invades your emotions. Like, I get. I get it. But the other question that I have for you is that you stated that there used to be 5 stages of grief. There are now 7. What are those
hmm
7 stages?
Okay. So hopefully I can remember them. Um, so it is anger. So the first stage is shock. Shock. I'm in shock that it happened, right? Wait, what? Is probably something that you would hear. The second thing is you're in denial. It's not deny. It's like, I can't believe they're not here with me, or I can't believe I lost my job. I can't believe this happened. You have bargaining. Well, if I had gone with them, it wouldn't have happened. Or maybe if I would have been a better person, they wouldn't have done this. Or if maybe if they had this resource, this wouldn't happen, right? So there's anger, there's shock, denial, there's bargaining, there's acceptance. I accept that this thing happened. Doesn't mean that I'm still not in shock. Doesn't mean that I'm still not angry. Um, and there's hope. You've accepted it, and then you see hope for a brighter future. I'm trying to think how many I hit y'all with.
Delay.
Yeah, actually, and it's so crazy, and I wish I had my lap. Actually, I do have my laptop. I'm so sorry,
You good?
because my my next book that I'm writing is on the 7 stages of grief. So when y'all hit me with that, I actually have it right here in front of me. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. So I make sure I give them all to you. But while we're trying to pull this up, if you have something that you want to ask me, feel free to ask me. But yeah,
Money.
make sure I get them all for you.
Oh, you want me to talk? Okay. Um,
Because I
with
know
that,
you got some questions.
a walking one of Charlemagne, how Charlemagne said, I support the movement faithfully of our community pushing therapy. I know, like, Miss Lala said, we always be told, whatever happens in our house stays in our house. And sometimes your house can be your biggest enemy. So I feel I tell anybody, therapy saves lives. Therapy saves you from being on 3 meals in a cot and paying rent to the community, or it saves you from 6 feet deep. So my question is to you, Ms. Lala, where does accountability come to grieving?
Okay. So accountability is, so we may not be responsible for what happened to us. I wasn't responsible for being molested. I wasn't responsible for being bullied. I wasn't responsible for being in the domestic violence situation, but I was responsible for my healing. That's where accountability comes from. That's where not allowing people to treat me as a victim came into play, because sometimes when we go through things and we get victimized, we give people the green light to treat us like a victim, and that doesn't help us. It keeps us stuck. So that's where the accountability piece comes in, is not allowing people to treat you like a victim, understanding your part in the situation. Because some of us have gotten in some relationships that, baby, we were in red flag landia. We saw all those red flags, but because baby was fine, but because baby had all this, we was like, you know what, he ain't gonna do that to me because I'm a 10, right? And I'm not gonna let this happen. But the next thing you know, we going down that slippery slope. We doing exactly what we said we wouldn't let them do to us, because we told them exactly what we went through, what they weren't going to put us through. We gave them the green light to tell them what we accepted in previous relationships, and they was going to try that same thing with us, and they were very successful. That's where accountability comes with, and grief. Remember, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So when people do things to us, we have to give them consent to do the things that they do. And when we give them that consent, we also have to take the accountability for the things that we ignored, maybe because our previous trauma allowed us to feel a certain way about it, right? So that's where the accountability comes in. It comes in with our healing, because we're not going to heal if we don't give ourselves the permission to heal. So that's where the accountability comes from. The accountability comes in not going back to the thing that tried to break us, or the thing that tried to kill us. Zora Neale Hurston said, if we're not careful, people will kill us. If we're not careful and we don't use our voice, people will kill us and tell everyone that we enjoyed it. That's where the accountability comes in. Not giving everybody that power over you. So the 7 stages of grief, I found it, are shock. So it's the initial paralysis at hearing the bad news, denial, trying to avoid the inevitable, anger, frustrated outpouring, bottled up emotions, bargaining, seeking in vain for a way out, depression, final realization of the inevitable, testing, you're seeking realistic solutions, acceptance. Acceptance and hope is when you're trying to find a way forward out of that situation. So those are the 7 stages of grief. But yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Money,
you.
any
I
more
appreciate
questions?
that.
Um, but on, and then you trying to make it my session. I have one tomorrow. Thank you. I'm doing
It's your
good today.
session.
Yes, I have a session tomorrow. Y'all ain't gonna
Amen.
get me today. So, so with the 7 steps, how do, because I know everybody maneuvers different in the steps of grievance. Because
Mm-hmm,
some, you know, might start off with the anger when they hear the shock. It might come right after, as soon as they find out, and they
mm-hmm,
automatically be angry, and then it might fly over to, it's hope for it, and then next thing you know, they done came out of nowhere and done went in depression. So
mm-hmm.
how do you navigate someone that goes through those intertwine?
So I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna use the situation with my mom, and I talk about it a little bit, but I really don't talk about it. When my mom passed away, now I live in Fort Lauderdale. We had to go to the port authority right here in Fort Lauderdale, right up the street from me, to pick up my mom's body. I was angry. I was angry. So I'm 52 years old, right? And so I was getting ready for my 50th birthday. We were supposed to go to Africa for my 50th birthday, and me and my mom was going to be roommates. But my mom was coming up for my brother's baby shower because he was about to have twins. Him and his wife were about to have twins. And I didn't know my mom was driving from Clearwater to here. And so Clearwater, St. Pete, Tampa is where my family is from. I moved down here because I got promoted with my job and then, transitioned out of that job. And so my mom was driving and she wasn't feeling well, but she was going on a cruise by herself. And had I known, my mom wouldn't have went on that cruise. But she didn't tell me because she knew I was going to talk her out of it. And so I was angry. I was livid with my brothers and sisters, and my sister didn't even know either. But I was livid with my brothers because how would y'all? I'm thinking, how y'all gonna let her drive 4 hours by herself and then go on a cruise by herself, knowing she didn't feel well? I was angry, and in that anger, my anger manifested as if I was crazy, if I was cuckoo, if I was delusional, if I was this, and I acted out. I mean, when I tell you, I was in a dark, 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 dark place. You ever heard of Lodabar? Lodabar is the term that they use in the pits of hell. The deepest, darkest, dankest place, Lodabar, the deepest pit of despair. That's where I was when I learned about my mother's passing. But the thing about it, for years, I kept having dreams of my mom, and I would tell people these dreams, and I look for her and she's not there. And I'm looking through paperwork and she's not there. That was God preparing me for the moment to say, hey, your mom's not going to be here. I even talked to my sister and say, hey, I don't think mom's going to be around that much longer. And she was in decent health. But God was showing me this because he knew I was going to have to walk through it and everything that I was going to have to deal with. But even though I was prepared in that moment, I was pissed off. I'm a true Pisces. They say Pisces have the most serial killers in their, yes, we do have the most serial killers because we bottle stuff up. We hold it. We're people pleasers. We take care of everybody else. We swallow all our grief. We swallow all our trauma. We're the nice person. We're people pleasers. We let everybody else have the spotlight. We bottle the stuff up and hold it in. So I wasn't dealing with my anger. I wasn't dealing with my pain. I wasn't trying to figure out why I felt that way, but I was angry. And it manifested as I wasn't talking to nobody. I let people do what they want to do. I was like, take what you want, do what you want to do, whatever. And I'm building all this resentment inside of me. And I'm angry. And not only am I angry on top of this, now I become the scapegoat for every family dirty secret, every this, every that. It's all being poured on me. I'm angry. I'm in shock. I don't have an outlet. If I say something, oh, she's just crazy. I got family talking about me. You never know grief. You never know trauma. You never know something until you have to plan a funeral for someone super close to you and see how your family acts. Until this point, mind you, 50 years old, I had never had a fight with my brother and sister in my life. Never an argument, never a nothing, not one day in our lives. And I was about to be 50. And here I am, my brother saying that, I'm glad I didn't come because over there that day because I didn't want to have to stab you. So going from never fighting to me always fighting and taking care of them, and all of a sudden I'm the black sheep, I'm the one that's causing all this trouble, I'm the crazy one. I got people talking because they wanted to believe it, and then to find out that there was some misconceptions about me and my mom's relationship that I didn't even know existed. And I'm going down to Clearwater. I'm seeing my mom, and I'm not telling anybody else that I'm there, because the purpose is God is showing me this. So I'm not telling everybody else I'm driving to Clearwater to see my mom. But my family is thinking that I don't come and see my mom. And they're telling me, well, you don't come visit mom, and I know for a fact you're not visiting mom. And I'm like, well, that's interesting, because I'm here all the time. But because there's so much going on, and when I wrote my first book, I told my story, and people are not ready for that, and that caused a lot of grief and trauma and dissension. And so, you know, I was angry, I was in shock, I was depressed, I slept, I wouldn't eat. If it wasn't for my son, who was 17 at the time, he saved my life, because I wanted to die. So I had so many emotions going on in that moment, and they were not linear. The stuff would hit you like crazy. I would look up and see my mom in a corner, and I sat in her house for 30 days after she died, cleaning up the house and just being in that environment. And I can't tell you the emotions that rolled over me. The waves of anger, and I should have done more. I should have gone on the vacations. When she asked me about going on the vacations, I should have did this, I should have did that. And the stuff was not linear. It just kept coming, and it was punching. And I'm dealing with family, and I'm talking to family members that's thinking they talking to my sister and telling her not to tell me certain things, but you telling me because you talking to me on the phone. And I'm going and I'm taking care of people in the hospital, and I'm having traumatic experiences because my mom just passed away. You in the hospital, I don't want you to pass away. And I'm dealing with all this stuff. I'm dealing with family talking about me like I'm a dog. You know, I can't even go on a vacation and people act right. I got people accusing me of stealing and taking stuff, and but you find what you're looking for, but I never get the apology for it to this day. And people saying that I stole wallets. My family member was in the hospital, and I needed to leave, so I called the nurse and I asked them to put his wallet in security. You done called my family member in Washington, D.C. and told them I stole your wallet. Clearly, when the nurse brought it to you, but you didn't give me an apology. And I'm walking through these types of moments as I'm walking through grief. So no, grief is not linear, because you still got to deal with life. You still dealing with those emotions that are coming at you feverishly, and you dealing with life at the same time. So there's really nothing to say but try to be aware as you can be when you're under all that fog, if that makes sense.
It does. Because when you spoke of that, I went through a similar situation a couple of months ago. Um, my mom is a group of 10. I think at the moment it might be 4 past, but there's a sister next to her that's 2 weeks. Their birthday like a week and a half apart.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't one of the closest aunties I was with. Because there's some things of like her taking my grandma away from Florida and holding her, and when we found out she took her father. So I had some personal anger issues with her. She was very aware. So when she passed, and I couldn't understand, because the people that she hung out with down here that she was so close with didn't help my mama do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Her sisters didn't help her do anything. Um, her kids are babies. They didn't know how to bury, or what to do, or how to do, or which way to go. The one that takes care of everything is 25. So knowing that my mom couldn't deal with it, I had to step up. I had to put my feelings aside. I stepped up. I did what I needed to do and make sure that the funeral was complete.
Mm-hmm.
None of her sisters showed up. And you would think, one, that's your auntie. Second, my mom is there. She needs you just as much as you needed her at that moment, because you all came down for it.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them showed up. None of the brothers, none of them showed up. Not even the nieces showed up. It took people that we grew up with that put her, the carry and put her in the ground. And I still do not speak to neither one of those that said that's my favorite auntie, because they didn't do anything, they didn't help, and they didn't support. And on top of it, my mom is the go-to.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that carries and do everything anybody wants in the family. But the
Mm-hmm.
one time she needed the support, she didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand where you coming from, but I think that kind of opened up for me to understand and see that there is a little grief regardless of where we stood, and a little I think it's more anger to the simple fact that you all came out that Friday when everybody got together, but when it came down to that Saturday when the funeral was there and you was needed, none of y'all showed up. Y'all showed up to drink, party, and supposedly remember her, but you talked about showing up, but none of them walked through the door.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the steps that, if a person is not aware how far deep they're in grief or trauma, what are the steps, or how can somebody outside look in, see it, and give them some kind of help to acknowledge so they
Mm-hmm.
can get the help?
Okay. So when somebody's walking through grief and they're deep in it, there's nothing that we can do but be there. Nothing. Because they're not going to accept what we're saying. They're not going to hear what we're saying if they can't process the emotions that they're dealing with. The best thing that we can do is be there and just wait. Stay by the phone. Go check in on them. Because the biggest misconception is they just need time and they need space. Time to do what? Space from what? They don't even know where they're at in this moment in time. They don't know whether they're coming or going. They can't see straight. They can't see around corners. They're in such a fog to this. Like, you ever had an out of body experience where you're on the outside looking at yourself and
Mm-hmm.
it just seems like you're lost? You just got to be there for them, because if they cannot articulate or put into words how they're feeling, they can't cry. They can't have what we call an emotional vomit. That's just crying, and the ugly cry, the snot, the dealing with those things. If they can't put into words, if you say, how are you feeling, and they can't tell you, they're not going to be able to comprehend anything that you're saying, no matter how much we want them to. Just be there for them. Don't say the religious stuff. Don't say the cliche stuff. And for anybody listening to this, don't think I'm knocking religion, because I'm a PKs, great grandkid. We have family in ministry. I actually went through the school of prophets myself. I don't tell most people that, because I want people to be their true, authentic selves around me. I'm a sinner. I make mistakes, right? I want people to feel comfortable in their skin around me. And so I think it's really important just to be there, you can sit the tissue on the table, but don't hand them the tissue. When they say something, don't say I understand, because you don't understand. Say I can relate to that. Or if they say something, they say, I'm angry. You say, I'm mad because of this. And you say, what I hear you saying is that you're angry or you're upset because such and such transpired, or and such happened. Or they said this and this and that. Selectively agree with what they say, because you can't be in agreement in everything that they say, because everything that they say is not going to be right. It's not going to be legit. It's legit for them in that moment. But when they wake up out of the fog, it's probably not something that we want to co-sign. Make sure that you understand what you're co-signing when people are walking through grief, because they got to own their healing. You can't heal for them. You can't go to the doctor for them. You can't see the psychiatrist for them. You can tell them what you do, what you would do in that situation, but you're not in that situation. You've had a similar situation, but you don't know all the unknowns and unhiddens that they're also having to deal with in back of that decision that they have to make. And you don't want them to resent you because they took your advice. They have to own the decisions they make so they can own the results that they get. And sometimes when we're watching people grieve, we want to fix it for them. You cannot fix it for them. No matter how great you think you are, you cannot fix it for them. And you don't want them to resent you because you gave them ill advice. And I know that's hard to watch somebody struggling. It's hard to watch somebody walking through some stuff and you just want to fix it for them. It's super hard to do that. But you're only enabling them to be stuck in the mess that they're stuck in. And I'm telling you this because I loved when people treated me like a victim because it gave me attention. It made me feel better in that moment. But in the long haul, it did nothing for me but make me feel like a victim and take away my own strength. So just be there. Try to get them to put into words what they're feeling so they can hear themselves say, you know what? I am angry. I am mad. I am hurt. I am scared. They need to start verbalizing the emotions. And we think about it. We don't do that for people. When you see a boy cry because he's hurt, stop crying. You're not no punk. Be a man. He's a boy. Let him be a boy. Let them work through those emotions. And then we get all these stoic men with all these muscles, muscle bound, looking good, but emotionally inept and emotionally unavailable because we've conditioned them to be emotionally unavailable. Just let people be whatever they are. If they are a hot mess, let them be a hot mess. We've all been a hot mess. We've all been crazy. We've all been hurt. We've all been ashamed. We've all been a ton of things that we're judging other people for being when they're walking through some of the most traumatic moments in their lives. And we want to be high and mighty because we've reached a certain status or whatever. I don't applaud that. I love being the black sheep. I don't want to be the goat. I love being the person that people can come and tell their deepest, darkest secrets and know that they're not going anywhere and not feel judged about it. I'm not going to say that it was always a point that I did not judge people because I didn't understand. But the word says my people perish for lack of knowledge. When we know better, we do better and we treat people better. Most importantly, we give ourselves grace and we treat ourselves better. And allow people to grieve, allow people to be in the moment. I had a daughter that I carried 9 months, and when I went into labor, she died. I still celebrate every birthday that she has. And that was over 20 years ago. My only daughter. So allow people to feel what they feel in the moment, but do not victimize them by coining them a victim in those moments. Don't shame them. Don't do it. Treat people like you want to be treated. And if you are an emotionally unattached person and you don't care about feelings, hey, stay away from people. Because people out here committing suicide because they think they're alone in these moments and they think things are their fault. And if you're angry, stay away from people because you don't want to cause your anger to be the thing that pushes that person over the edge. Everybody thinks that their grief, their hurt, their pain is more significant and more important to somebody else. You don't know what somebody else is going through. You don't know if it's a thread holding them together and they snap. So that's what we need to understand when it comes to grief and everything that we're learning. Think about social media. Social media is an amazing tool because of things like this. But think about all the cyberbullying that happens. all the misinformation. We are in the misinformation highway, all this stuff. Everybody's a guru. Everybody knows what's going on. I don't trust nobody that hasn't walked through what they're talking about and teaching others about. If you haven't dealt with domestic violence, you can't teach me nothing about domestic violence. If you haven't been molested, you can't show me the compassion or empathy that comes along with that and what not to do. If you haven't been a victim of human trafficking, AIDS, or any of these other different things, or know someone that was impacted by it, you can't talk to me about that because you don't have the compassion to sit with people in their mess. And if you can't sit with people in their mess when they're walking through stuff, stay the hell away from them because you're
Totally,
going to bleed on them.
totally agree. Money.
I'm getting tired of my name getting brought up. Like y'all is not gonna make this a peer session, okay? Not today. Whoa. But and grievance and you said it earlier, not even earlier, a few minutes ago, that the black sheep. My granddaddy always used to tell me this, and I always hold them for that. It was like the black sheep always turn to the goat, and I slowly realized it because I don't mind being the black sheep. I don't mind being the villain in anybody's story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm the villain. I'm the black sheep on both sides of the family. So how do you? I'm gonna just use my own story.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, my great grandmother, she passed at a beautiful 96. Almost 15, 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and you know the family, it wasn't even divided. It was just like your situation where, you got the Southern family where they got their issues and it's always to talk about them. However, when it came down to it, we the family that made stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember this to this day because I was that person that held the grieve in and just snapped
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, you got one side of the family, well, why they here and doing this and doing that, and then the other half is like saying the same thing, and I'm looking like, bitch, at the end of the day, we all family.
Mm-hmm.
Might not like each other, might can't walk in the same line. I ain't gonna lie, I done went down the line of everybody and gave them the clip on who is the problems and where the problems is. Got popped in the mouth by my grandma, but it was worth it because I seen her frustrations and her grievance while she trying to grieve her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I could actually feel, yo, my grandma over here crying. This is the lady, this is Mabel Simmons of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Cutthroat. Ever since then, them island women, they don't play.
Mm-hmm.
So to see her break and all of this commotion going on and you trying to belittle her, I snap. So I feel like during the grievance stage, I'm a villain. I'm a villain. I'm a villain. I'm a villain. Oh, I'm saying this loud and proud. I'm a villain. How do villains navigate through grief?
Very,
Because
very carefully.
I tread like, so I have to ask this because it's past the politics what we were talking about in hell. I'm a little bit lower than that. I think I'm somewhere in water. It ain't even mucky waters.
Mm-hmm.
It's past the mucky waters. I see souls lifting up. That's where my evil endure. So how do that villain grasp through the grievance?
So I want you to understand that when you're walking through grief and you're that low, counseling, you said you're going to see your peer counselor. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself, because you got to understand that you're going to deal with your grief very differently than anybody else is going to deal with it. Give yourself some grace, because you've never walked through this exact experience ever before in your life. You don't know how you're going to act, right? But you
Mhm.
have a level of awareness in your situation, and you look back and you say, you know what, stop and pause before you say anything. Because even though, some of us cute in our orange, I'm not looking good in prison orange. I'm just not.
Girl, all of us look amazing in orange. That one just look, we're not gonna have this discussion right now. Y'all just not gonna
Hey,
get on me.
but you know
We're
what?
not gonna do that.
When we forgive people, we forgive other people faster than we forgive ourselves. And we let go of the hurt for other people faster than we let go of the hurt for ourselves. So the one thing about you is you're a villain in somebody else's story doesn't make you a villain. It makes you somebody that can't be gotten over on anymore. And so what you need to understand about yourself is you deserve the grace, you deserve the love, you deserve the healing, you deserve to be empowered, you deserve to be loved, you deserve to be understood, just like everybody else. And the place that originates is you. I just posted something the other day is sometimes we got to teach people how to treat us. And if that involves us being silent, if that involves us being stoic or still, be that. If that involves us being like, no, what we're not going to do is this, setting healthy boundaries, do that. Because you're going through so much in these grief moments that you got to understand who you are, how you operate, how you move, what will you tolerate in these moments, and that's okay. You got to understand, as you're in Lodabar, as you're in the depths of hell right now, God is still with you with the bed while you laying there. He's not going to leave you nor forsake you, and you are his creation. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And he knew you were going to go through this situation, but he needs to let you know that he's still right there with you while you're going through, because you're worthy of the healing that's at the end, at the other side of this. And if you have to be the villain, so you say, for your mental well-being and mental health, you be that for yourself. But understand that you can still be soft to yourself in these moments. You can still be forgiving to yourself in these moments. You can still speak your voice in these moments. But remember, you also are potentially bleeding on people that are walking through some of the same emotions that you may be walking through. You're wise enough to handle it in this moment, and maybe they're not. Maybe they're not accustomed to dealing with the pressure that you're under. So to whom much is given, much is required. Some of us are built tough, and we can walk through some stuff that most people will take themselves out in a heartbeat on, right? And we don't even have our breaking point, but you got to remember, give yourself grace, show yourself love. If you were on the outside looking at somebody in your situation, what would you do? But do it for yourself. Meditate, journal, listen to music, take walks, go to the beach, sit by yourself, write poems, get your stuff out, vomit that stuff out so you can look back at it. Because I've written stuff that I looked at, and I'm like, woo, baby, I was in the dark. I was in the dark, dankest place when I read that. I'm like, ooh, I was going through it. But you will come through on the other side. But you can't beat yourself up for everything that you're dealing with. You cannot do that to yourselves. The world beats you up enough. You deserve the healing that you're withholding from yourself. And sometimes we withhold our own healing because we don't think we deserve it. We think sometimes that we have created this mess, so we allowed to stew and sit in it. No, baby. No, you deserve to heal. You deserve to be aware of what you're going through. Everybody's not going to choose the decisions that you had to choose from. They have A and B. You choose from the lesser evil that's best for yourself. But understand that you own every decision that you make. And I know you know, it's easy to say I'm not going to deal with people. Okay. But it does take a level, what I've learned, and I'm just speaking about me. I want to cut everybody off, but you can't cut everybody off because some of this stuff is for your development. Because as you elevate to the next level, you're going to deal with new devils that are going to bring more heat and more pain and more fire than you've ever dealt with before. This is endurance training for you, whether you know it or not. And so every level that I get to, I've always noticed there's a new, more powerful devil that I've had to deal with. But the reason that if you just stop right now, in this moment, I want everybody that's watching, hearing, listening on this screen right now, or that will hear or see this later, I want you to think about one moment that you never thought you'd get through, that you was like, okay, this is the end. I'm going to take myself out. I can't do it no more. You got through it because you're here today, and you never thought you'd get through it. You never thought you'd deal with it, and you dealt with it. You handled it. Because everything that you need to succeed is already inside of you. It's not sitting on somebody else's desk. It's not on somebody else's computer. It's not in somebody else's book. You were born with everything in your DNA to be successful and to thrive. Just think about just being from conception. You know how many sperm that had to be beat out to create you? That died off, that didn't make it?
It's 16 more to me, so I don't know. Daddy had a bunch of us in 1 year, so I don't know if they fought or they
Baby,
just like,
but
I'm
do,
gonna
but
sit
do
back.
you realize how many had to be beat out just for you to be there?
Yeah,
There's only one you. I don't care how many kids my daddy got, and he got a lot.
yeah,
There's only one me.
yeah. Girl, I understand. My daddy, I'm telling you, that thing, he should have broke the brochure for Magnum. I don't know what he was doing. I,
Baby, he did it though, right? But
I got
here,
it.
our parents, and the thing that we got to understand when we're talking about grief and parenthood, our parents' job was to get us here. We don't even belong to our parents. Their job was to get us here for God to do what he had to do in our lives. And we listen, and I don't know where everybody else at in their spiritual journey, but the word says all things work together for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. All things. It doesn't say every good thing, every winning lottery ticket, every bill that's paid for, every great dinner, every superstar moment, every promotion. It said all things, which means death, disaster, mayhem, um, misunderstandings, mischief, hatred, everything. Everything we go through was created for God's glory and us to be used for the purpose he has designed in our lives. Because you're going to sit one day and walk through your grief event, your trauma event, and help somebody else with it. You're
And that's
going through endurance training right now. Think
and that's
of that.
I'm gonna take it like that. So how do we walk this through, especially for, like you said, the black and brown community that suppress everything and that's withheld in it? And I notice this a lot in our own community, especially the black community.
Mm-hmm.
Black males don't get the grief.
Mm-hmm.
So what can they do to remove all the testosterone and let that vulnerability sit in a space in that moment so they can grieve?
We got to make it a safe space for them to do that. Stop telling our boys they punks if they cry. Stop telling people that, oh, you this and you that. A man ain't supposed to do this. I've never been a man, so I can't tell a man what he's supposed to do. I cannot. I can love on you. I can tell you that I can speak things into our children. We are the only community that are taught to hate ourselves. In our songs that we listen to, in the shows that we watch, we're taught to hate our skin. We're taught to hate our heritage. We're taught to hate our hair. We're taught to hate the black man because he's this and he's lazy and that. We're not taught to talk about the system that paints him as the lazy man, because they don't want him to be equal. Because if they knew that he was a king, that he knew that he was a king, he would start acting like one and he would take over. We're not taught that black women are submissive. We're not taught that black women, it's okay to lead. We're not taught that black women, it's okay to be strong. We're not taught that it's okay for black women to do certain things because, oh, she can't keep a man. But the system that set up food stamps and the welfare told us that we can't have men in our house, so we couldn't get the benefits if we had them in our house. But then they say that we're not women enough to keep our man, but the system was designed to keep our people from being with themselves. We need to create a safe space for each other, to love on each other, to tell each other the truth, to be there for them. And Tanya can remember we had this conversation at the last Books and Brunch. I mean, that conversation got deep because there were so many misconceptions. But if you look at it, it's systematic racism. We're taught not to get the counseling because what other culture is told that it's taboo for them to get counseling? Our people don't do that because we don't do that things, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're taught that we don't go crazy and we don't do this. We deal with more trauma and grief experience than any other culture by design, because it's taught to keep us down. So what we need to do is start loving on each other. Stop judging each other for sinning differently than we do. Stop being those perfect people in the background. I'm a mess. I ask people all the time, what do you see when you look at me? And they tell me all these great things. And I proceed to tell them that, okay, so I'm a person that tried to commit suicide multiple times. I can tell you over 10 times I tried to commit suicide. I was in a mental health institution for 3 weeks. And it took a lady saying, you know what, Lorinda, how are you feeling? I'm okay. She said, well, if you're feeling okay, why are you here? When she asked me that question, I was like, oh, shoot, why am I here? Because I had compounding grief that I never dealt with. So when it comes to our men, love on our men. Teach them it's okay. We don't have to. Loving ourselves doesn't mean that we're hating other cultures or other people. From our young boys' young ages, love on those little boys. Tell them that they are kings. You notice I call all women queens no matter what. I didn't always sound this educated and so enunciating the correct way in my speech. I was told that I had limited speech. My first book that I put out was put out horribly, and I had to do a remake of that book. People told me I didn't have depth of thought. If I listened to everything that people told me, I wouldn't be the person that you see today, because I wouldn't have taken the time to develop myself and put myself in places to build myself up. It wasn't that I was uneducated or I didn't have all this. I just didn't have access to the resources that other people had. And when I had a boss that told me one day, he said, Lorinda, your 25% is most people's 100%. That was the game changer for me. He said, you outshine people and you don't even try. But I had people telling me that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't this enough. I was too black, and I was my vernacular, the way that I talked, the way that I spoke, the way that I carry myself. Take this away, be more like us. No, baby. Be comfortable in your skin. People don't know what they don't know until they don't know it. And our job is to educate people on what they don't know so that they can make a change. They can make an informed decision on the choices that they make. You are not your parents' mistakes. You are not your parents' failures. You're not whatever your lineage did. You can't hate your parents even if they were horrible parents, because there was no blueprint. We're not taught to talk about finances and wealth and business strategies and building and all of those things. We are, our black men, our black children, our black boys, our black girls start disenfranchised. They start at the bottom, under the bottom, and we have to play catch up. So when those men, those beautiful black men and brown men are going out in the community, uplift them. If they want to choose somebody of another race, let them choose another person of another race, and don't beat them down for it, because that's what society is telling them. But you can still be a shining example for our community. So to those
And
black men that don't know how to express themselves, give them a safe space so they can express themselves. Teach yourself, because I don't have a poker face. And you tell me something, I'm like, teach yourself to manage your poker face. Do mirror checks. Have a conversation with yourself in the mirror before you have a conversation with that man. Because
that's
how you react innately, how your face frowns up when you say something, is what they're going to do, because your body is telling you that's not the way to communicate with them. Learn who you are, what you expect, what you accept, and model those behaviors for our men.
and
Be the queen that you are.
and that's where I learned a lot about. Once you learn the master the artistry of managing your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
that's where everything just because our world is just and when you live in a society where everybody wants to be the alpha, females is going to be alphas, men's are
Mm-hmm.
alpha, and everybody know the great debate of the
Mm-hmm.
submissive and accountability. And I tell people, when it comes to those standards and those statistics, that's where it becomes a situation. I tell relationship wise, that's why I asked you that, because can you a person can grieve you and want you at the same time. However, how do you navigate both ways
Do
as
they
in
deserve you?
hearing?
Do
Because
they
it's
deserve you? Do they know how to treat you? Do they see you as a person? Do they respect you as a person? If I have to be around somebody that I can't be my complete mess self of around them, they're not the person for me. Now, that's not to negate the fact that you're going to sometimes be around some people that are going to elevate you because they don't tolerate your BS. I'm not saying that. Now, we need people around us that are going to elevate us and going to call us on our BS and love us enough not to let us be stuck in it. But you have to be around somebody that you can be vulnerable with, that are not going to judge you, that are going to allow you to be your true authentic self and say, well, you know what, Lala, I can see where you're coming from. However, comma, because you do this, this is a result of the things that you're seeing. And I'm gonna tell you, when it comes to being submissive to a man, a real man, you will naturally submit to him. Your body will naturally submit when it's the right situation. When it's not, sometimes it's your triggers and traumas, and you have to be aware of that. And sometimes it's uncomfortable being in a situation where you're actually there with a real man that's going to train, teach, and develop you. Because I don't want to be with a man that cannot teach me something. And you don't have to have all the money, but you have to teach me something. You have to grow me as a woman. When I'm around someone that is allowing me to be myself emotionally, physically, sexually, all of those things as a person, oh, they have my attention. And
Mhm.
once you learn what you like, you dislike, what you will tolerate, what you don't tolerate, that's when you level up. And they're either going to level up with you or they're going to leave. But you don't
and
have to move prematurely.
and that's what I wanted to know, because I know us as women, that's what is naturally, supposed to be in development when you are in a relationship. And I just had this discussion with my daughter, and she was like, well, can men be submissive? I was like, it is how they used to say it back in the day, each one teach one.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to invite it in her that, y'all both are naturally submit to each other. If it
Absolutely.
I was like, you got some men that might not be able to lead, and you might be able to guide him into the right path where he needs to be as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't even have to be the mouth of that person. You might be the person that just need to speak life over them, just
Yes.
to just to have them in the right path. But
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you have people that speak life into you and push you to be great, and you still have that person go through those grievous moments? Do you shy away from that, or do you just, just put yourself on pause until they're ready to accept what you're saying? Because you can be pouring, 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 and it's like, yeah, they want to stay there. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you get some. I understand everybody go through grief. Grief don't have its time,
Mm-hmm.
but when does it come to a point where you pouring, you're pouring, you're pouring, but then you gotta just like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this out now.
Mm-hmm. So
But
the way that
still,
I look at it is this. So if somebody comes to me and say, "Hey, Lorinda, can you pray for me?" Absolutely. Have you prayed about the situation? No. So why are you going to ask me to pray for you if you ain't prayed for yourself? Why are you going to so you got to understand that if they don't pray for themselves, there's something wrong with that situation. Not knowing how to pray, okay, let's pray together. You lead the prayer and I'll jump in. We're making them an active part of their problem, a part of their solution, right? There are a lot of people that will come to you with their problems, dump their problems off you, and go on about their day because they know that you're going to fix it. So you got to understand and determine, is this a person that continuously brings me their problems or creates problems for other people to fix, and they don't take the accountability? They have to have accountability in their situation, and they have to own the solutions. They can't come to you for all the solutions. They have to own the solutions. They have to be part of fixing their issues, because if they never own that problem, they're never going to own the solution. They're never going to own the results. Some people um like being their issue. They're wrapped up. Their whole identity is trapped in that grief moment, and they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to heal. They want to be a victim because victim gets people attention, right, wrong, or indifferent, good or bad. If there's somebody that always is going through something, because every single one of us will continually go through things because it's the cycle of life. It's, I go through this moment, I learn from it, the next thing comes. It builds me. I learn from it. I grow from it. I move on. The next thing happens. It's called evolution. We're growing. We're only using 10% of our brain. So imagine if we applied ourselves in every situation, how much more powerful we could be as a society. And that's the same with people that are going through grief. Some people love drama. Some people love trauma. Some people love having a victim mentality. And you got to decide if that's what's happening with this person. If you are consistently giving people nuggets, using your oil up to make somebody else shine brighter, and they're reserving their oil, they don't want to get their hands dirty in their own healing, they're not ready for healing.
That brings me to this question that I've been sitting on. And I know somebody is wondering this question, because they always say we go through childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So how do someone that goes through childhood trauma that hasn't healed from it, but then has grief that consistently knocks them?
So,
And grief could be passing, someone passing, or just
mhm,
getting knocked down on trying to be a better person, or striving for best.
mhm.
How do they see, cope, manage, or even deal? Because that's a lot.
Mhm.
And the first thing, the most things that we as black and brown, we don't heal, or we don't deal with childhood trauma.
Mhm.
So what advice would you give
For so a lot of people don't deal with it because they don't have a safe space to deal with it. We have to be a safe space for people. And what I've learned is, in most cases, it's so much easier to talk about somebody and shun somebody than to help them walk through things, because we don't know how to walk through it, or we forgot that we've been through some stuff that's similar and we don't want to admit that we've gone through some things. So in order to help somebody is to assess their readiness for it. Everybody's not ready for it. And just because the one thing that I learned when I wrote my book was I was ready to talk about my story and tell my story, but my family was not ready for me to tell my story because I would be uncovering some stuff that I didn't even know existed. And so what I found is people will beat up the victim and celebrate and protect the predators in the situations, whatever it is, because it's easier to deal with, because now that I've opened a can of worms, now they're afraid their stuff is going to get told. They're going to, the facades that we've been putting out, the perfect family dynamic that we have been drawing out for and playing out is going to be in question, and everything is a lie now because the truth is now coming out. So you got to, again, assess the person's readiness to heal, the readiness to move on, the readiness to deal with it, because it's a lot. When you have to deal with your emotions, it's a lot. You're going to spiral. And a lot of people do drugs because they're trying to numb from an experience. And then they get hooked because they try to numb, and the high goes away faster and faster, and they're always chasing that high because it makes them feel better. A lot of people get into relationships because the endorphins that they feel when their relationship was really good, they're always chasing that high. And when it's bad, it's bad, but when it's good, it's real good. But they rather deal with the little tiny moments of real good and move away from the real bad moments because they don't want to address that. That's why people don't heal, because again, a lot of the healing hurts more than the instance, because you have to relive that moment over and over again. You have to talk about it. You have to accept your responsibility in the role. You have to accept the responsibility for your healing. You have to seek counseling. A lot of people don't have money to seek counseling. They don't know about 211. You can call 211, which was run by the United Way, or SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Association that helps people, or Good Samaritan, Good Sam for teens that help you deal with grief. The Grief Recovery Institute that sometimes gives free training and group training and stuff like that. They don't know the resources that are out there to help them deal with it. And a lot of people that they're around are having their own grief moments and are not equipped to deal with it. So that is some of the challenges when people are walking through grief. Who's in your circle that can help you be aware of what you're dealing with and put a name to something that you're dealing with, the right name, finding the right counselors. There's so many different moving pieces to help someone that's dealing with grief. But the first part is awareness. The first part is vulnerability. The first part is being authentic and true to yourself to say, you know what, I'm dealing with some stuff. I don't know how to put a name on it, what it is, but let me find somebody that can help me walk through this. And then finding somebody that's not going to prey on your situation, P-R-E-Y. Because, you know, people say that they're going to P-R-A-Y, pray for you. I'm praying for you. I'm lifting you up in this, but they really praying on you. They're going to use those situations to make you feel worse. They're going to shut you down because they know that if you get away from that, they're never going to have you under their thumb again. So some people that you're around like to see you in victim mode because it makes them feel better about their situation, and they don't have to address their situation. So get around people that are not allowing you to stay stuck. I used to say it's not okay to not be okay. But as I matured and I grew up, I understood that it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay that way. And so, you know, you have to find the resources. You have to find your village that is going to help you and not capitalize on your misfortune. So that's what I would tell to the person that is grieving, that's stuck, that doesn't know how to find you a circle that are going to lift you up and help you be better, that want to see you win.
I
And
get it.
that's not afraid to tell you the truth.
Exactly. We won't hold you. This conversation can go on and on, but I would like to continue and do a part two. That
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to join you.
that way we can touch on the subjects that we haven't touched on. We can get into more of the kids part of what you do. And we can speak on that. But I do want to thank you for coming on and educating us and teaching us and listening to the questions that we had to give a better understanding of grief and trauma and the 7 stages that we as people don't know.
Mhm.
So do let me know what your schedule is and we'll schedule that, but let the people know where they can find you if they have any questions, if they want to get in contact with you, if they need your services. Let them know where they can find you at.
Awesome. So, I was listening to one of your shows and I was just laughing. Just Google me, baby. You can actually Google me and you will definitely find me. I'll pop up anywhere. But you
Mm-hmm.
follow me on Instagram. I am Lorinda Andujar. I underscore between everything. I'm Lorinda Andujar. Facebook, Lorinda Andujar, Heal the City Inc., She Blinked LLC. Um, Join us September 20th for all you poets, music lovers, creatives at Visions and Vibes, where art heals heart. September 20th, 31 Lounge at Hollywood, in Hollywood, Florida. We are having Visions and Vibes. We're going to have Lisi Soul, Authenticity, my friend that's coming down from Atlanta to spit some poetry. When I tell you dope, dope, dope poetry, baby, she going to bless you. Black Dada is going to be there. Mecca. Grimo Marcelin is going to be there. DJ Six Mills is going to be there. We have amazing David Bronson that you met at a Books and
Mm-hmm.
Brunch is going to be there. We have an amazing lineup. We have the substance abuse and mental health department that is actually coming in to give free resources and everything. It's a free event. If you want to donate, you can definitely donate. It's on Eventbrite, Visions and Vibes. Just look me up, Lorinda Andujar, and let's connect. If you have something that you want me to be serving on a platform, come speak to someone. I'll be more than happy to do it. And let's see how we can collaborate and just, make this world a better place. I'm here to serve.
Okay. Money, is there anything you want to end the show with?
Oh no, I will. I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll wait. I've been a
Okay.
good person today. She showed me that I can actually use the screwdriver a little bit. It's still unhinged, but I'm using the screwdriver. I'm not using a power tool, but it's
Hey,
doing it a little bit. So it's showing that it's a process.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night until we speak again. Be safe and we'll talk soon.
All right. Later, ladies.
Good
Keep your
night.
crowns on, queens.
You too. Be
All right.
safe.
Trying to
Bye
pick
bye.
it up.
Ah,
I gotta pick it up. That thing be, golly, you heavy. Get back over here. That
you
thing
put it
be
back on. Put it
topsy-turvy.
back on. You got it. You got the strength to
That thing
do it.
that thing be topsy-turvy, honey. Woo, baby.
All right. I love y'all. Y'all be blessed. And it was a pleasure serving with y'all tonight. If you need me, you know where I'm at.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.